Part 37. I Can Break the Dimensional Wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 362. At Xiaoruo's home. Mom, these are my brother's friends. Like Sister Kikyo, they were invited by my brother to participate in the event. They are all cosplayers, Xiaomeng introduced Rem and others to her mother. At this time, Xiaoruo's mother was the only one in Xiaoruo's home, and Xiaoruo was not at home for something. On the way back, Xiaomeng called her brother and told him that there were guests at home, and asked him to come back quickly, but my brother has something to do, he has to go to the airport to pick up the plane, and he can't come back for the time being, he needs to wait a few hours before coming back, let me entertain guests at home first. It's too early to pick up the plane at this time. Xiaomeng knew that Mapolu and the others were coming, but it wasn't at this time. Could it be that anyone else was coming? How many people did my brother invite? Indistinctly, Xiaomeng seemed to have guessed what was going to happen. Thinking of the upcoming happy scene, the corners of Xiaomeng's mouth twitched. My brother will be fine. Alas. Xiaomeng clasped her hands together. Hope it's okay. Hello, Auntie. Under the leadership of Keiyo Subaru, everyone greeted Xiaoruo's mother one after another. I see. They are all guests from afar. They are probably tired. Let's sit down and have a rest. Looking at the strange appearance of the people brought home by Xiaomeng, Xiaoruo's mother frowned slightly, and said in a flat tone. Although Xiaoruo's mother has also heard of cosplay and knows that young people like it, it is the culture of young people, but she can't like the few girls who just came to her home. In the past, the girls brought back by my son, not to mention other things, at least wore clothes that could wrap their bodies, and they looked decent, but what they brought today was nothing. Seeing her mother's frowning, Xiaomeng could almost guess what she was thinking. At this time, Xiaoruo's mother frowned and looked at the three girls, and glanced up and down. The more she looked, the deeper the Xiaoruo's mother frowned. It's normal for Xiaoruo's mother not to like their clothes. Naoki Subaru is wearing normal clothes, and Rem are wearing black maid outfits. Although it looks nothing unusual in the animation, in the real world, this kind of clothes is really too shameful, let alone the maid outfits on Rem, and Rem are the ones that reveal a lot. Snow White skin was exposed on the chest, shoulders, and back, and the skirt was terribly short, and the long white stockings on the legs did not look like serious clothes. Although Emilia's costume was a little better than the maid's costume, it was only a little better, and she showed a lot of herself. Their clothes alone left a bad first impression on Xiaoruo's mother. In Xiaoruo's mother's opinion, even cosplay is a bit too much, can't they choose a dress that is not so revealing? And the hair color of these three girls, one blue hair, one pink hair and one white hair, I don't know if they are dyed hair or wigs, and they wear colored contact lenses on their eyes. They don't look like serious people at all when they go out. For Xiaoruo's mother, who has never been in contact with cosplay, she really can't appreciate it. The only advantage is that these three little girls are so beautiful, which makes people feel distressed. Even if Xiaoruo's mother doesn't like them wearing such revealing clothes, she still thinks they are cute. But the visitor is a guest, and Xiaoruo's mother will naturally not let the guests sit, and she will go to make tea for the guests when she gets up. However, the moment she stood up, Rem, who was wearing a maid outfit, also stood up. Airport. Xiaoruo put down the mobile phone in her hand and exhaled lightly. Just received a call from her sister. Xiaoruo already knew that Rem and the others had finally arrived in the real world, which also made Xiaoruo feel relieved, as long as they didn't get lost. With Naoki Subaru here, those people from other worlds should not. What can go wrong? Naoki Subaru is also reliable. Xiaoruo patted her face, and turned her gaze to the direction of the airport. Now my own problem is the biggest. For this system mission, too many people were invited, 15 invitation letters, and many of them came from different worlds. Sioruo couldn't even imagine the terrifying scene when all the people invited by the invitation letter were gathered together for dinner. Absolutely don't let them meet. You can't take them all home. Most of the people who were invited were girls, and there was still an inexplicable relationship between many of them and her. Sioruo didn't have the courage to gather all of them together. So they must be prevented from discovering each other's existence. Thinking of this, Emi Yashiro, Fantasy Carnival Episodes 4 and 12, Tono Shiki, same as above, and Wohishideo, Date Alive Episode 8, came to Sioruo's mind. Face. That's right, as long as I learn from my predecessors, carefully arrange time management, separate all the girls who have arrived in the real world, and prevent them from seeing each other and noticing each other, I can almost pass this mission safely. In order to relieve her pressure, Sioruo only invited a few animation characters from the world. They are the Kingian 5-member group in the world of Kingian girls, teacher Sawako Yamanaka, and Yui Hirasawa's younger sister, a total of 7 people. Maple, Sally, and me from the world of Shield Girl, there are 3 people in total. Remram, Emilia, and Natsuki Subaru in the world of ReZero, there are 4 people in total. The Kikyo of the world of Inuyasha. Exactly 15 invitations. For these 15 people, the ReZero group let them live in their own home, because they are the only group with extraordinary power among the people he invited. The Shield Girls are all ordinary people, as long as they come separately and arrange them in different hotels, it's not a big problem. As for Bellflower, Sioruo only has 2 words, just follow the fate. When MW starts, Kikyo should arrive, but now Sioruo doesn't have too much energy to take care of Kikyo's affairs. Sioruo looked at the time, the plane of the Kingian group arrived at noon, and the plane of the Dunyoung group arrived in the afternoon, with a gap of 4 hours between them, leaving enough time for Sioruo. Sioruo has already arranged a perfect time management, it is absolutely impossible to roll over. Just as Sioruo was thinking so, the plane arrived. At this moment, at Sioruo's home, Xiameng's mother was drinking tea at this time, looking at Rem with bright eyes. When she was about to make tea just now, the blue-haired child stopped herself. Not only did she go to make tea herself, but she also swept the floor and cleaned the table, and started doing housework when she disagreed. Home guests also do housework. Not only that, but it was the first time she had seen such a hard-working and capable girl who was so skilled at housework. The child wiped the table and the floor and glistened like brand new. Sioruo's mother looked more and more satisfied with Rem's eyes. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 363. Sioruo's mother originally thought that she would help Sioruo entertain the guests. After all, she also came all the way from Japan, and in her eyes, the people who came to her house were actually a group of children, who looked only 16 or 17 years old, just the age to make trouble. At first, she thought that as long as these children don't make a fuss, they can just sit on the sofa and watch TV, and wait here quietly for Sioruo, but she didn't expect that the girl with blue hair and bangs covering half of her eyes would be fine. He never allowed himself to stand up. What a boy! Not only serving tea and pouring water, the child rolled up his sleeves and started doing housework and cleaning the floor after making tea. It is the kind of hard-working child who works faster than the average nannies hired outside. Thinking of this, Sioruo's mother felt a little guilty. It was me who judged people by their appearance at the beginning and misunderstood others. What a good boy this is. Although this kid is dressed a little strangely, he is polite and hard-working. Sioruo's mother thought that she might have misunderstood, and then went to see Rem, and found that the blue-haired child was quite beautiful in a maid outfit mopping the floor, and his appearance made people feel distressed, and his voice was soft and susu well. Just by listening to this soft voice, one can tell that this child named Rem is a gentle and kind boy, no worse than the girls who came to our house before. Some things are just like this, If there is no prejudice and a slight change in the concept, it will become more pleasing to the eye and more like a daughter-in-law. After all, even she was the first to see such a diligent child. Thinking of this, Sioruo's mother sighed. Well, children today are really different from before. Children in the past have helped the family and done housework since they were young. Unlike today's children, they will only hide in the house with their mobile phones, and their parents will not care about it. Do me a favor, Xiaoruo used to be that lazy, he likes to play games at home. She glanced at her daughter again. Xiaomeng was also sitting on the sofa, holding the cat in one hand and playing with her mobile phone in the other, posing in Geu's lying position. Really, it's so casual when guests come to the house. Thinking about it this way, Xiaoruo's mother felt that the blue-haired girl was even more pleasing to the eye. She likes hard-working children. I don't know what this child thinks of Xiaoruo. Xiaoruo's mother suddenly starts to think wildly. When Rem did not have any housework to do, Xiaoruo's mother quickly pushed her down, and took Rem's hand by the way. Sit down, child. You are tired from doing so much work. I told you not to do this, but Auntie likes children like you. You should sit here and rest. The time is almost up. Wait a little bit, Auntie. You make a big meal. There was Xiaomeng next to him to help translate, so it was not a problem to communicate. But when he heard that he was going to cook, Rem stood up again, shook his head, and pushed Xiaoruo's mother back. Rem is also very good at cooking, let Rem cook lunch. I'm really sorry that I didn't bring any presents. Hey, kid, why did you come to cook? Auntie, just sit down and leave everything to Rem. In the mansion, Rem is in charge of cooking. Just wait a moment. Rem gently pressed Xiaoruo's mother on the sofa. After that, he walked into the kitchen. Xiaoruo's mother looked at the back of Rem's disappearance with satisfaction. Her eyes were like the eyes of a mother-in-law looking at her hard-working daughter-in-law. What a boy! Xiaoruo's mother didn't know how many times she thought this way. But the child's hand strength is a bit strong. She touched the position of her shoulder. Rem herself is a maid capable of doing housework and fighting. Although she is not very good at using some modern tools, with Tsuburu Natsuki on the side, she can get started almost instantly, and she quickly started cooking in the kitchen. Although she came here as a guest this time, Rem couldn't calm down at all. Rem is a person who observes very carefully and can feel other people's emotions. When she arrived at Xiaoruo's house, she vaguely noticed that Xiaoruo's mother didn't seem to like her very much. My sister and Lord Emilia, although it wasn't obvious, but Rem noticed it anyway. After discovering this, Rem became slightly nervous, and his two fingers were entangled. Unlike Emilia, who cared more about Nadio Suburu, and Rem's heart for Roswal, Rem had a good impression of Xiaoruo when he was in the ReZero world, so when he came to Xiaoruo's house, Rem also the more tense one. Now that he finds himself hated by Xiaoruo's mother, Rem will naturally want to restore his impression in front of his elders. Emilia and Rem also noticed this point. Although Emilia didn't understand Rem very well, Rem seemed to be vaguely aware of his sister's thoughts, and didn't stop her sister, but it is quiet while drinking tea. She can't control what her sister and Xiaoruo develop into. Soon, Rem and Natsuki Suburu brought up the prepared dishes. At this time, Xiaoruo was still picking up people at the airport and couldn't come back, so they ate together. When all the dishes were placed on the table, Rem stood aside like a maid, with his hands in the middle, as if he had no intention of coming up to eat. Son, what are you still standing there for? Come on, sit next to me, Xiaomeng, give up your seat quickly. Xiaoruo's mother frowned, and pushed away her daughter Xiaomeng, who was sitting next to her, then took Lei Mu's hand with a loving mother's smile, let her sit on the chair next to her, and patted Lei Mu. Tom's hand. Ah, this. Xiaomeng's eyes widened. She always felt that the blue-haired one was more like her mother's daughter than herself. Was she her own? Thanks. Rem bowed her head and thanked softly. Her voice was very low, she seemed a little shy, she always felt that Xiaoruo's mother's gaze was a bit dazzling. But she also noticed that Xiaoruo's mother seemed to be very satisfied with herself, and Xiaoruo's mother, like Xiaoruo, was also a very gentle and good person, which made Rem relax. "Why are you thanking you? You worked hard today. I'm a little embarrassed to keep you busy for so long. You are the guest." Xiaoruo's mother looked at a table of dishes prepared by Rem. "Those dishes are completely different from Chinese cuisine, a type I have never seen before. Is this Japanese food? It's my first time eating it." Xiaoruo's mother took a sip, and immediately raised her head in surprise. "Well, it tastes good. I didn't expect your cooking skills to be so good, Rem." Rem was a little embarrassed by Xiaoruo's mother's praise. "Rem, how old are you this year?" Xiaoruo's mother asked. 17, Rem whispered back. 17, you are about the same age as my Xiaoruo, but you look a few years younger than 17, and your face is tender, Xiaoruo's mother said softly. Listening to Rem's voice, she always felt numb. Afterwards, Xiaoruo's mother asked about Rem's situation at the dinner table, and cooperated with Xiaomeng's half-hearted translator. She learned that she and her sister were in charge of the housework in Rem's house, and now only her sister was the only family member. Xiaoruo's mother loves the child even more because she is boarding at someone else's house. In the eyes of Xiaoruo's mother, Rem is already a child who has undergone major changes since childhood and is still strong. Not to mention that Rem has been protecting his sister, and he is still a good child who values family affection and is very sensible. If she gets married and has children in the future, she will be a good wife and mother. To be honest, Rem's favorability with Xiaoruo's mother has almost risen in a straight line. In fact, she prefers a virtuous and good boy like Rem. If the Kikyo who came last time can score 95 points because of her temperament, then Rem will directly you can score 98 points. Now besides luck, where else can I find such a hard-working and simple girl? It is a blessing to find her. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 364. Seeing that her mother was completely poisoned by Rem, Xiaomeng was a little unhappy. The more my mother likes Rem, the more upset Xiaomeng is. She doesn't know where her hostility comes from. The other party is obviously a perfect beautiful girl, and she is also the gentle type. Nasty. Maybe it's because of other people's children. Even if Rem is perfect, Xiaomeng will not like a child from other people's family who can be compared with her. Even in Xiaomeng's opinion, the Kikyo who came last time is much better than this Rem. Yes, she is the temperamental beauty. Looking at Rem's profile, Xiaomeng snorted softly. After eating, he stopped Xiaoruo's mother who wanted a bowl, and Rem went to the kitchen alone to clean up the dishes. After cleaning up all the tableware, Rem found that she seemed to have nothing to do, so she didn't want to be idle, so she turned her attention to Xiaoruo's sister. Xiaoruo's sister is also a very cute person. Xiaomeng sensed Rem's gaze very keenly, and turned her head. "What are you looking at me for?" With a gentle smile on Rem's face, he waved slightly to Xiaomeng. "Xiaomeng?" After a while. "Ah." Xiaomeng lay on Rem's lap and groaned comfortably. It turned out that Rem just had a rest and found that Xiaomeng's spirits seemed not very good, so he let her lie on his lap and made her an earpick. This kind of two-dimensional girl seems to be surprisingly good at this kind of thing. Is it comfortable? Rem often picks out her sister's ears, Rem asked softly in Xiaomeng's ear. Because he was picking ears, Rem's voice was very soft, like the cotton of Huahua and Huahua, making Xiaomeng's ears itchy. At this time, Xiaomeng had an expression of extreme enjoyment. She didn't know why, it was like magic. The girl's knee pillow and ears were so good that Xiaomeng chased her all night these days. The drowsiness of the drama is gone. This is the first time for Xiaomeng to experience the taste of a knee pillow. The girl's soft and warm thighs can be gently pillowed, and she can still feel the girl's smooth skin. The extremely refreshing ear picking, combined with Rem's gentle voice that makes people want to cry, makes people feel the warm heart of this girl even more. The emperor enjoys nothing more than that. Xiaomeng was very regretful at this time, regretting why she had a prejudice against Rem. Through the smooth and warm thighs, she has already felt Rem's gentle heart. How can there be such an angel-like girl in the world? Xiaomeng was on Rem's knee pillow, and suddenly thought of one thing in her mind, that is, if someone can marry Rem, not only can she enjoy Rem's care, eat Rem's cooking, but also let Rem cook a meal every day. Knee pillow and ear picking. Not only that, Rem, whose voice is like cotton, can also say some gentle words in his ear every day, poke your face with his slender fingers, and help you take a bath. Such a scene makes me happy just thinking about it. Xiaomeng wanted to cry a little. Dizzy because of excessive enjoyment, Xiaomeng had the idea of killing her brother and snatching Rem away. Subaru Natsuki, who saw the knee pillow, was a little envious, and then turned his head to look at Emilia, but Emilia didn't see Subaru Natsuki's eyes at all. She was still watching TV. For modern TV programs, it seems to like it very much. Xiaoruo didn't know what happened at home at all. He was picking up the plane at the airport now, counting the time. Those girls should have arrived too. Soon, Xiaoruo found a group of girls walking out of the airport. There was no way, they were too conspicuous. It is normal for 7 lovely girls to stand out together. Oh, Huaguo, here we come again. Be careful, Yui. As usual, Yui Hirasawa and Ritsu Tanaka were the first to rush out of the airport, looking full of energy as usual. Except for her, the rest of the girls are much calmer. After all, according to the number of times, besides Sawako Yamanaka and Yu Hirasawa, this is the 3rd time for everyone from the light music department to visit China. The first time is to travel. The second time was to hold a concert, and this is the 3rd time to participate in MW activities. Today's weather has just entered summer, so several people are wearing cool summer clothes. Jinganese aesthetic clothes, combined with their cute appearance, look full of vitality, just like walking in comics. The Japanese high school girls who came out felt a little unreal. Of course, they did come out of the animation. Huaguo's airport has a lot of people, so many people also focused their attention on them. What beautiful girls, are they some idol group? Looks as beautiful as an entertainer. Several of them look familiar, I don't know where I've seen them before. Maybe it's a 3rd-tier star. At the pickup place, King Ian and the others quickly found Xiaoruo who came to pick them up. It was exactly the same place as before, just like seeing old friends again. Boss Xia. Don't pick up good wine. Xiaoruo, Boss Xia, we are here. The 2 guys Yui Hirasawa and Ritsu Tianjing started yelling before reaching Xiaoruo. Yui Hirasawa was still speaking plastic Chinese of unknown taste, the passers-by really couldn't understand what she said. What? Boss Xia, don't pick up good wine. The only one in Pings rushed to Xiaoruo first, shook hands with Xiaoruo, and at the same time winked at Xiaoruo. Boss Xia, is it true that every time I come here, my Chinese is not good enough? Are you improving? Well, I have made great progress, Xiaoruo praised against her will. To be honest, when Ping Zui spoke at first, Xiaoruo didn't even know that she was speaking Chinese. By the way, why do you call me Boss Xia? I'm not your boss. Who says no? Ping Zui shook his head crazily. Boss Xia, don't deny it. Our light music department came to China to work for you. You are not the boss. Who is the boss? Before Xiaoruo held a large-scale concert with 60,000 people for them, and after paying them a large amount of performance fees, Pingzui I knew that Xiaoruo had money. This time, calling Xiaoruo directly as boss Ya seems to be he regarded himself as Xiaoruo's wage earner. There's no way, boss Ya gave too much. The rest of the people didn't feel anything wrong when they heard their names. After all, they also made their debut under Xiaoruo's hands. Although they said they were friends with Xiaoruo, performing in Huaguo was equivalent to working for Xiaoruo. Xiaoruo shook her head helplessly, and then greeted each other with their leader, Mr. Yamanaka Sawako, and finally the rest of the girls, who were all acquaintances present. Xiaoruo greeted each other one by one. However, when it was Akiyama Mayo's turn, Xiaoruo was a little embarrassed, and touched her nose. It seemed that something was wrong with the atmosphere. Mio, you are here, the clothes you are wearing today suit you very well. When Akiyama Mio heard Xiaoruo calling her name, she lowered her head in embarrassment, and replied in a voice like a mosquito, well, thank you. Originally, Xiaoruo had a lot to say, but there were too many people around, it was really hard to say it, so he just stopped and didn't continue. After greeting everyone, Tanakaritsu patted Xiaoruo on the shoulder, Boss Ya, is there any work for us this time? Didn't you say that we are very popular in China? I can't wait, I really want to meet my fans. Xiaoruo smiled slightly. Of course, the full name of MW this time is Mio World, and many people who will come will be fans of you and Mio. Not only that, I also prepared a huge main stage for you. At that time, autographing and taking pictures will definitely be indispensable, and everything will be done according to your liking. Really? Really? Are we so good? Hearing Xiaoruo's words, the Kingian girls all looked excited. When have I lied to you? Xiaoruo said with a glance at all of them. Very good. Long live Boss Ya. Boss Ya, I love you. The girls all jumped up happily. It has to be said that Xiaoruo can make them have fun every time, not to mention eating and drinking and playing music. Boss Ya also pays for the performance. They all adore Xiaoruo, even Kotobuki, who is a rich lady, is no exception. On the contrary, Akiyama Mio was still a little ashamed when she heard the name Mio World. After all, it was an event named after her. Thinking of this, Akiyama Mio's head began to steam. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 365. Crack, clap. Xiaoruo clapped her hands and drew the attention of the Kingian girls back. Girls, don't rush to be happy. You have traveled for such a long time. Let me take you to eat first, and then arrange a place for you to stay. Rest for a night first. The activities will start tomorrow, so save your energy. Great. When they heard that they wanted to eat delicious food, the girls cheered again. Afterwards, after Xiaoruo put away the luggage of the Kingian people, she took them to a big meal as usual. Not to mention, as a local, Xiaoruo must be a local every time. I can take them to eat different delicacies, and arrange them clearly. About an hour later, several girls who came to play, including teacher Yamanaka Sawako, were sent back to the hotel by Xiaoruo with their big bellies. After sitting on the plane for so long, after eating and drinking, the girls didn't have any extra energy, so they just lay down in the hotel and rested. Xiaoruo also agreed to pick them up tomorrow when the MW event started. After Xiaoruo saw them resting, she also breathed a sigh of relief and left the hotel. At the same time, Xiaoruo checked the time on her mobile phone. The plane of the Dunyang group will arrive soon, and everything is still in Xiaoruo's time management plan. At the same time, Xiaoruo also called home to confirm that there was nothing wrong with Rem and the others before heading to the airport for the second pickup. Like the girls who picked up Kingian, Xiaoruo met Maple and others who had just got off the plane at the airport, and gave them a set meal that was exactly the same as the previous Kingian group. If everyone in Kingian insists that they are Xiaoruo's wage earners, then Maipulu and Miyi are at most meeting Xiaoruo's offline netizens, and most of the chats are related to games. Sioruo also told them, in the MW game showroom, there are many good VR games, and they are also looking forward to it. After that, Sioruo took them to have a delicious meal, treated them well, and then sent them back to the hotel to rest. Of course, it was a different hotel from King Ian Group. It all went very smoothly. After all, Maple and the others are characters in the daily world of the game. Their clothes are actually similar to ordinary people, they have no special abilities, and their real appearance is a bit different from the animation. Even if someone compares them with animated posters, at most they feel that they are very similar to animated characters. No one can recognize them as animated characters, and they will only think that they are all cute girls. After a busy day, the sky gradually darkened. Maple and the others have settled down, and Sioruo can finally go home. MW will start tomorrow, as long as there are no problems tomorrow. It's just that when he was about to go home, Sioruo heard the system prompt after a long absence. Ding. Task: the first phase of the invitation letter is completed. Thanks to your efforts, 15 invitation letters have been sent, and the animated characters who received the invitation letters have all safely arrived in the real-world. Characters from multiple worlds gathered in the same world, and no accidents occurred. The first stage of the mission is completed. The performance is perfect, and the rewards of the first stage are being distributed. Reward: Prestige add 2000. Reward: Mysterious item, Fantasy Hall of Valor. The second stage of the mission, before the end of the MW, there will be no accidents, and the event will be held perfectly. Ding. The prestige is satisfied, and the level can be improved. Ready to upgrade? When Sioruo saw that he could upgrade, he was at a loss for a moment. He almost forgot that he could still upgrade. Because level LV4 requires too much reputation, it needs 20,000 reputation points. At that time, Sioruo thought it would take about half a year to upgrade, not to mention that he patronizes traveling across the world recently, and did not release too many fan videos, which led to the gain of reputation points. The speed is getting slower and slower, and the upgrade time is at least a little longer than what I calculated, and my strength is enough, so Sioruo gave up the idea of short-term upgrades. Unexpectedly, with the accumulation of time, he finally accumulated enough prestige points for upgrading. In fact, upgrading is not an urgent need for Sioruo, because Sioruo feels that the strength he obtained from the fantasy world is enough. He learned the breath of water in Ghost Slayer, and used the rules of the game in the Shield Girl world to improve his swordsmanship to he has reached an incredible realm. Coupled with the spells of the heavenly scriptures, the strength bonus of the upgrade is actually dispensable to Sioruo's bonus. However, the system always likes to surprise itself. Maybe upgrading can add some special abilities to itself, so Sioruo clicked the upgrade with full expectation. Upgrade. Ding. Congratulations to the successful upgrade of the host. Sioruo, LV4, 1231/100000. All attributes of the host's body are improved. Talent upgrade, Body of Reality LV4. Talent upgrade, Power of Reality LV3. Activate new talent, Fantasy Control LV1. Real Body LV4, you who come from the real world are different with the real body, you can ignore fatal attacks and be immune to most attack damage caused by fantasy worlds. Power of Reality LV3, Breaking Illusions, Advanced, can break high-level illusions. Fantasy Power LV1, everything in the fantasy world is virtual. You who come from the real world have also noticed this. As your level increases, you gradually have the ability to control fantasy. When you use the power of fantasy, you will consume reputation points. Looking at the data given by the system, Sioruo was pleasantly surprised to find that after upgrading to LV4, she really gained a new talent, and it seemed to be a very powerful talent. The talents of Reality Body and Reality Power are Sioruo's very useful talents. The Reality Body can increase one's frankness and reduce damage. The reality power is equivalent to Kamijutuma's fantasy killer, breaking illusion it is equivalent to invincibility. The talent produced by the system is absolutely fine, stronger than any world's ability, this is what Syoruo has always believed. Syoruo didn't understand the real use of this new talent power of fantasy for a while, but it is also a very powerful ability. Syoruo couldn't wait to try out her new talent, but Syoruo found that she couldn't use this talent in the real world, so Syoruo adjusted the time flow, traveled to the world of Inuyasha, and found a little white rabbit, tested his ability. According to the introduction of the system, Syoruo used her abilities to explore, and watched a little white rabbit grow a pair of wings under the power of her imagination, and slowly flew in the sky. Syoruo came to her own how BT this power of fantasy is. Possessing the power of fantasy is probably equivalent to a god in a fantasy world. It is more reliable to say that it is not so much power of fantasy as divine power. Fantasy can be true. If the reputation is enough, one of my thoughts can bring people back to life, and even modify the settings of the fantasy world. Of course, this requires a lot of reputation points. Syoruo was thinking, the ability of fantasy power is to make herself farther and farther on the road of invincibility. No, this ability is not only used in combat, it is obviously stronger in other aspects. Syoruo even thought about imagining an elixir of life in the fantasy world, and then bringing it back to her family to eat, but the moment the idea came out, Syoruo had a premonition that she could not do it to this level. He can feel that his fantasy power level seems to be too low, only LV1, and can only be used in fantasy worlds or fantasy items. Once in the real world, the fantasy will collapse, or imagine himself out. The actions used on humans in the real world have no effect at all, and must reach LV2 or LV3 or even higher to be useful. But this is also very powerful. Syoruo exhaled lightly. After all, this ability needs to consume reputation points, and he must use it well, so Syoruo ignored it first, but focused on another reward just given by the system task. In addition to rewarding him with 2,000 reputation points to upgrade himself, the system also rewarded him with a mysterious item when he completed the first phase of the invitation letter mission. Mysterious props, Fantasy Hall of Valor. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 366. Fantasy Hall of Valor? Syoruo checked it out, and the Fantasy Hall of Valor rewarded by the system turned into a spot of light, appearing in the depths of her consciousness. Syoruo concentrated her spirit, and through the light spots, she finally saw the whole picture of the Fantasy Hall of Valor. From the outside, the Hall of Valor looks like a gorgeous Western-style palace, with an oppressive golden light around it. Gorgeous and elegant. At first glance, it is an extremely precious treasure. But when Syoruo put her consciousness into it, she found that in the middle of the Hall of Valor, although the interior is resplendent, there are no creatures. It is empty, only rows of exquisite and gorgeous seats, without any vitality. Those seats seem to be set up for heroic spirits, waiting for the arrival of their masters. Syoruo has heard of the word Hall of Valor. Hall of Valor is the hall where god Odin receives the spirits of the dead in Norse mythology. In the animation Fate series, heroes with brilliant achievements will enter the Hall of Valor after death. Fate animation version: it is the magician who summons the heroic spirits to modern times to participate in a battle called the Holy Grail War. King Arthur, who is very famous in the animation industry, the female swordsman Artoria is the heroic spirit who was summoned in the Holy Grail War. Not only her, there are countless famous heroic spirits in the Hall of Valor. However, Syoruo feels that the Fantasy Hall of Valor she owns now must be different from the Hall of Valor in Fate. This is the first time that Syoruo has received the reward of a mysterious item from the system, which makes Syoruo a little curious. What is the function of the Hall of Valor in fantasy? Fantasy Hall of Valor, empty. Evaluation, medium. Increase in the number of heroic spirits can increase the evaluation. Function, the Fantasy Hall of Valor has the ability to contract characters in the fantasy world. Without the need for the character to die, the owner can sign a contract with the fantasy character with the help of the Fantasy Hall of Valor, allowing them to join the Fantasy Hall of Valor, and from then on become the hero of the Fantasy Hall of Valor, immortal, used by the Fantasy Hall of Valor. Contract conditions: to sign a contract, the other party must be willing, conquer with heart, obtain the other party's approval, and force coercion is not allowed. Contract the fantasy of the heavens, gather the heroes of all worlds, no matter whether they are hostile or not, they will fight side by side to open the way for the contractors. Just by reading the introduction, Syaruo can understand what kind of treasure this is. It is an artifact of unlimited growth. The more heroic spirits there are, the stronger the power will be. But Syaruo shook his head. A good thing is a good thing, but I can't make it exert the most powerful force. The Fantasy Hall of Valor is a powerful tool to conquer the world. If the owner of this treasure is an ambitious king, he can even use the Fantasy Hall of Valor to conquer the heavens and the world. But it is a pity that Syaruo is not a very ambitious person. He used to be a salted fish who liked to watch anime and play games. Syaruo is satisfied with shopping. There is endless money to spend, and the more peaceful the world, the better. The current life makes Syaruo very happy. Moreover, the road to conquest is simply a road of corpses and bones that is prone to hair loss and depression. That kind of road is not what Syaruo likes. He doesn't like killing people, and he doesn't like destroying complete two-dimensional worlds, let alone destroying the real world. It may be because of modern education, even with such a powerful treasure, Syaruo will not conquer the world. Even in Syaruo's mind, it's best to keep everything as it is. Such a perfect treasure of the Hall of Valor, in the hands of Syaruo, can at best display the ability of the harmonious Crystal Palace. Thinking of this, Syaruo smiled helplessly, and withdrew from the Fantasy Hall of Valor consciously, but when she quit, the passage in the introduction to the Hall of Fantasy Valor appeared in Syaruo's mind. Whether they are hostile or not, they will fight side by side to open the way for the contractors. Click. At that moment, just like Conan, there seemed to be a flash of lightning in Syaruo's mind, and he seemed to have caught some inspiration. Open the way for the contractor. Syaruo murmured in a low voice, and soon his eyes became brighter and brighter. Hall of Heroes, yes, there is no need to fight at all. Why didn't I think of it at first? The correct usage of the Hall of Heroes. Syaruo clapped her hands together, the light in her eyes getting brighter and brighter. What is the correct usage of Hall of Valor? Fighting. Conquer. Holy Grail War? No, it's drawing cards. It's FGO. Card games make a lot of money. If the Fantasy Hall of Valor is disguised as a game, and the AR or AUGMA technology in Sword Art Online is used to cover up the heroic spirits, it can perfectly integrate the two-dimensional and real world, and truly break the dimensional wall. The idea is bold, but not impossible. In the past, Syaruo naturally didn't think about this kind of thing, because the animation characters appeared in reality, which had a great impact on reality. In the past, Syaruo only dared to invite daily animation characters without combat power. Because he doesn't want the order of the real world to be destroyed. But Syaruo has just upgraded to LV4, not only has her strength improved, but she also has the bug ability to do whatever she wants, like the power of fantasy. Many things that she didn't dare to think about before are not so difficult to discover by accident. The power of fantasy can use prestige to transform fantasy creations, and naturally it can also transform the Fantasy Hall of Valor, and then use the Hall of Valor to recover prestige. In other words, as long as the prestige is enough, Syaruo can realize all his ideas. Of course, now that there is no heroic spirit in the Hall of Fantasy, Syaruo is a little early to think about this. We still need to expand the Hall of Valor, gather a group of heroes, wait until the MW is over, and then consider the game changes. Many of the details need to be finalized. Syaruo thought for a moment, and decided that now is not the time to start the Hall of Valor plan. For him, the second stage of the invitation letter task has not been completed yet. However, for the first batch of fantasy heroic spirits, who is better to choose? After a busy day, I entertained 2 batches of guests. By the time Syaruo came home, it was completely dark. As soon as Syaruo opened the door, she saw that everyone from ReZero was watching TV in the living room, and everyone was quiet, which made Syaruo feel relieved. Although I knew through the phone that there was no accident, but seeing it with my own eyes is still more at ease. However, Syaruo noticed that when Rem looked at him, he seemed a little shy, and even used an arm to protect his wrist. The corner of Syaruo's mouth twitched, and his all attributes were improved again. Naturally, he could see clearly that the place where Rem's wrist was protected was a familiar bracelet. This bracelet is not finished yet. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 367. It was already dark, and Syaruo cooked for herself in order to make up for her rudeness because she was absent because of something, and made a top-notch dinner. After everyone ate and drank, Syaruo solemnly called Emilia and others to her room. What's the matter? Syaruo, what's the matter with calling us here? Keiosuburu looked at Syaruo in confusion, and he found that Syaruo's expression was a bit serious at this time, as if she had something important to say. I do have something to tell you. Syaruo nodded. He planned to tell them the truth about the animated characters. The task of invitation letter is not so simple to complete. The requirement of the second phase of the task is that there will be no accidents during the MW event, and it is easy to find something wrong with the animated characters in the real world. On tomorrow's MW, there will definitely be a lot of Rem or Emilia cosplayers. At that time, Rem and the others will naturally find out that something is wrong. It is better to tell them the truth now than let them ask questions or cause a commotion. For Syaruo now, it doesn't matter to let them know the truth. Blindly concealing it is not necessarily a good thing. It depends on how they react after knowing the truth. There is nothing to hesitate. Therefore, Syaruo told Emilia and the others the content of ReZero and the truth that they were fantasy characters. These are the truth in the first place, because they are fantasy characters, but Syaruo brought them to reality. In order to prove that what she said was true, Syaruo also searched some game video clips and pictures on the internet with her mobile phone, and even took out the figures of Rem and Emilia that she got from MW. Sure enough, after hearing the truth Syaruo said and seeing the evidence Syaruo presented, although Emilia and the others were a little unbelievable at first, they were sure that Syaruo was not lying. They didn't go directly to play the game, but watched the recording of the game. That is to say, we are actually characters in a game. The world we live in is actually a game world, Emilia said while holding an exquisite figure handed over by Syaruo just now. Still immersed in shock, there was no way to accept this reality for a while. Although she couldn't believe it, the figurine in her hand reminded her that she was indeed an illusory character. Yes, and you are all very popular here. Syaruo nodded slightly, because ReZero only has games now, so Syaruo described their identities as game characters. Sure enough, let me just say, why can I travel to another world as an ordinary person, so I am the protagonist of a game, ha ha ha, I am really amazing. Naoki Subaru seemed to be the easiest to accept reality that one, after all, he also grew up in the world of animated light novels since he was a child. And he accepted it easily when he traveled through different worlds at that time, and it is not unacceptable to become the hero of a game now. Ram and Rem looked complicated, holding their own figures in their hands, not knowing what they were thinking. Excuse me, who made this game, can you tell us? Ram stepped forward and asked Syaruo. ReZero is a holographic game produced by our Rising company, and it was made by everyone. Syaruo chose to change the topic, for some reason. Now I can go to the world where the game is located and send you bring back. However, I will also be responsible for you. Next, you can choose for yourself whether to return to your own world or stay in the real world after the MW event. If you don't want to go back, I can also arrange for you to stay in the real world. After all, you are also regarded as Rising employees. In order to get closer, Syaruo labeled them as Rising employees as soon as she opened her mouth. Emilia and others were too shocked by the news Syaruo gave, and did not see through Syaruo's scheming. I don't know how long I was silent. Thank you for telling me the truth, and for letting us stay. Emilia bowed and thanked Syaruo. She seemed to have completely digested everything just now. Although the world I live in was created by people, and this world is perfect, but I still have things to do in that world, so after participating in the activities, I will choose to return to my world. Of course I want to follow Emilia. Natsuki Subaru followed immediately. Ram also has things to do to go back, said Ram, who also wanted to go back. Ram wants to be with my sister. Although Emilia and the others knew that the world they were in was just a fantasy world, but when they really made a choice, they did not give up their own world and chose to go back. Of course, this was all within Syaruo's expectation. Just like the anime recreator, even if the animated characters come to reality and know their identities, they still can't abandon the world they grew up in. Afterwards, Syaruo sent some clearance videos of the game anchors to Emilia and the others, and arranged them in their respective rooms to get them ready to rest. I don't know if they will be able to sleep tonight. The next day. It is also the day when MW officially starts. Because MW started at 9:30, but Syaruo arrived at the venue with Emilia and others at 8:30. After all, Syaruo still had two groups of people to send. However, when Syaruo arrived at the venue, it was already full of people, and the audience still had to line up before entering the venue, so many people arrived in advance. Therefore, it was obvious that there was still an hour before the start, but outside the exhibition center, there were already a lot of people. Full of all kinds of cosplay. When Syaruo saw this scene, the corners of her eyes twitched twice. For no other reason, when he first arrived here, at a glance, there were at least dozens of blue-haired Ram cosplays, and they were all serious cosplayers, far more than other animated characters. Seeing this scene, Ram also twitched his eyes. What's happening here? If she remembers correctly, what Syaruo said yesterday was you are all very popular here. But Ram saw all of them dressed up as his younger sisters at a glance. According to 486, people here generally like to cosplay their favorite characters, but after searching for a long time, Ram found a few here and there. The individual cosplayers themselves, together, are less than 1/5 of the cosplay of their own sister. This made Ram a little unacceptable for a while. Aren't Ram and I twins? Ram suddenly fell into self-doubt. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 368. The comic exhibition is indeed a magical place, and BW is the most grand comic exhibition. At least in China, there should be no more grand comic exhibition than this MW. This event was held in the largest exhibition center in Tianbei City. There are 4 large venues that can accommodate 20,000 spectators. Not only that, there is also a live broadcast window, which will broadcast the whole process of the MW main stage. In addition, there will be a large number of anchors on the stage. MW live broadcast. Often in normal life, some clothes that look outlandish are very ordinary here. The MW event not only attracted many animation lovers, but also gathered a large number of photography and coser. There are countless beautiful girls. On the road, on the street, the kind of beauties who make people turn heads often can only be seen for 10 minutes or even hours, but in MW, such eye-catching beauties are very common and attract countless photographers took pictures. They all gathered here because they love the second dimension, and this event is a grand ceremony of the second dimension. The MW started soon, and the audience began to line up to enter the venue. The entire venue was empty from the beginning to a sea of people. Syoruo brought the guests from the fantasy world to the venue in batches according to the time management plan she had set. If you think the same, no mistakes have been made yet. 3 batches of guests were arranged by Syoruo in different places in MW. On the main stage of MW, Syoruo arranged Kingian people at the VIP seats at the front. On the main stage, the host was talking about a talk show. Looking at the surrounding atmosphere, it is still very happy to watch. After all, MW is a relatively large event, and the funds are also very abundant. The VIP guests invited to this event are not only excellent upmasters, but also some bands and stars to perform. It's a singing and dancing show. The Kingian girls are all in bands, so they naturally like to watch such performances. The lively atmosphere made them miss the music festival that they experienced with teacher Yamanaka at the summer festival in the hot summer. Not to mention that under Syoruo's arrangement, they will also play a few songs on stage, which makes their hearts beat even faster. This event is Mio World anyway, so what if Akiyama Mio and Kingian girl don't appear? At the VIP seat, Syoruo was sitting with the Kingian girl. VIP seats, this is the VIP seats, it's really great to sit here and watch the show, it's much more refreshing than watching live broadcasts on TV, Ritsutanaka said a little excitedly as he kept twisting his body in the VIP seats. In her impression, when watching large-scale performances, her viewing booth is next to the TV. Look, everyone, there are a lot of programs, are there so many groups performing today? It's amazing, it's much more than our school festival, Yui Hirasawa said with a little surprise while holding the program list in his hand, although he couldn't understand Chinese, but I can still count. Yi, don't be ashamed anymore, Sawako Yamanaka tapped Yui Hirasawa's head lightly with his fist, comparing the school festival of his own school with this large-scale event, and Yui Hirasawa's natural stupidity figured it out. By the way, we made an agreement with Boss Ya yesterday. The light music department also has a program at the back. Now we just watch other people's programs in the auditorium. Is it really okay? This time, all the bands participating in the event are powerful bands. We haven't had time to rehearse, I'm afraid, Nakano Azusa, as a more responsible junior, said with some concern. For it. Although she didn't finish her sentence, everyone else understood what she meant. They are well aware of their own performance level, they are not considered professional bands at all, after school tea time is nothing more than a campus band. The last time it was a concert, there were only a few of them singing, and it felt like they just came up, they were in full condition, the more they sang, the better they were, and there were no other people for comparison. Now there are many bands performing before them, so if you compare them before and after, maybe their half-baked level is completely seen through. After Nakano Azusa reminded, the other girls also became nervous. Before coming to participate in the event, they were happy, but when they learned that they might be ashamed, the expressions of the girls suddenly became serious. They even regretted it a bit. They knew this earlier, and they used to practice a lot when they were in the music room, instead of drinking tea and fishing. Seeing the girls getting nervous, Syoruo, who was sitting by the side, smiled softly, and comforted her, "There's no need to worry so much. Didn't you prove yourself at the last concert? Just calm down. Now, you have to know that most of the people sitting here are your fans." The main stage of MW was broadcast live simultaneously on Mengjian, and the director in charge of the live broadcast seemed to have noticed Kingian and the others, and immediately turned the camera to them. Soon, the figures of Kingian people appeared on the big screen and the live broadcast room. Suddenly, there was a burst of violent cheers from the entire venue. After the camera showed herself and others, the Kingian girls panicked at first, and then began to greet the camera with a smile. And because of this scene, there was a wave of barrage in the official live broadcast room of Menjan. It's a light tone girl, it's real, I see real people. It's Mio-chan and Azumi, oh my god, why are they so cute, Oslo. I really invited them, damn it, why am I not in Tianbei City, otherwise I would have to go to see Kingian's performance live, woo woo woo. Azumiao's double ponytails are so cute, woo woo woo, why am I here to watch the live broadcast, I want to go too. Wife, what are you doing there? Come home with me quickly. Due to the excessive barrage, there was a slight freeze in the live broadcast room. Syaruo didn't know the situation in the live broadcast room. Although he could probably guess it, it wasn't Syaruo's concern. Syaruo looked at her phone. According to her time management plan, the time is almost up. It's still early for your performance, you should watch the performance here first. By the way, you are thirsty, I will sell you drinks. Syaruo stood up without waiting for the girls to respond. Walking towards the exit, he quickly disappeared in front of everyone in Kingian. Looking at Syaruo's back, Akiyama Mio always felt that he was leaving in a hurry. On the other side, Syaruo found Rem and others surrounded by a circle of people taking pictures in the game exhibition hall of ReZero. Ram, there were a lot of people in line just now, which kept you waiting for a long time. I bought some drinks. Syaruo carried a bag of drinks and walked up to Rem and the others. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 369. Although the clothes of Emilia and others will be very abrupt on the outside, but in this grand comic exhibition, surrounded by cosplay, they look like very ordinary cosplayers. After all, many cosplay girls here are also very good looking, and they all draw exquisite shapes, at most they are a little bit inferior to the real one. The appearance of Emilia and the others did not cause much commotion. Of course, because of their cute appearance, there were quite a few people taking pictures around them, but Syaruo arranged bodyguards for them when they left, so there will be no surprises. In addition, there is Natsuki Subaru, a native modern person, so it's okay for Syaruo to let them wander around. There are many interesting things in the comic exhibition, and Emilia and others are also very happy shopping. Thanks. Seeing that Syaruo came back with a drink in his hand, everyone from ReZero didn't care why Syaruo had been away for so long. Emilia, Ram, and the others thanked each other and took the drinks. After delivering the drinks, Syaruo went to the exhibition with them again. There are so many visitors to this exhibition. Even in the most prosperous days of the capital, I have never seen so many people gather together. It's so lively, Emilia said with some emotion. She is a kind-hearted half-elf, so I like this peaceful era very much. Not to mention that most of the visitors to MW are young people in their 20s, and the whole venue is full of vitality. Well, there are a lot of people taking pictures. When Rem was just shopping, there were photographers taking pictures around her everywhere. She learned the meaning of taking pictures from Natsuki Subaru, and felt that this was the culture here, so she nothing prevents. But this also reflected that they were really famous in this world, and Syaruo didn't lie to them. Not to mention anything else, Rem can't remember how many blue-haired maid outfits she met along the way, and when those girls saw her, they would also ask to come up and take a group photo with them. All of them were very polite. Rem they also kindly took pictures with them. According to Syaruo, those children are her fans, people who like her. These visitors from another world, after knowing their own identities, are slowly beginning to understand this world. It's fine if you like it here. By the way, what do you like here? Just rely on the special VIP card I gave you and get it directly. I will pay the bill later and treat it as a gift from me, Sioruo looked at Emilia and the others were all empty-handed, and said grandly with a wave of their hands. I don't know how much money I made and how many figures I sold with their fame. Sioruo naturally wants to make up for it. Really? Caiu Sabaru's eyes lit up when he heard Sioruo's words. He saw a lot of Emilia's exquisite handicrafts in the ReZero exhibition hall, and his saliva was almost drooling, but it wasn't because he didn't have money, he wanted to take them all away. Of course it's true, as long as you like, you can take whatever you want. Sioruo noticed Caiu Sabaru's eyes, and naturally knew what he was thinking, and deliberately hinted at Caiu Sabaru. When Caiu Sabaru heard Sioruo's words, he was very moved. Sioruo is really a good brother. When the time comes, he must take all of Emilia's figures back. If you buy it, Emilia's figures will cost at least 1 million yen, which he can't afford. That's not good. Emilia actually saw a lot of interesting items that she didn't have in her own world, and she actually wanted some, but she was a little embarrassed. Sioruo shook her head. There's nothing wrong with it. To be honest, I'm a little embarrassed to make money with your figurines without permission, so take it as my apology. That's right, everyone, please don't be polite. Selling figurines makes a lot of money, so let's treat it as our collection of copyright fees, Naoya Subaru also urged. He still has a clear understanding of copyright, and as a virtual character, it is quite reasonable to ask the boss who sells his own figures to charge some copyright fees. Hearing the word figure, Emilia, Ram, and Ram all blushed slightly. They also know what figurines are, but in their world, it's nothing to carve things like statues by themselves, but when it comes to large-scale sculpture, it's usually something only gods or witches would do. So when they learned that Sioruo was selling her own statue, the three of them had a strange feeling. Besides, selling statues was nothing. Ram also saw that pillows with his own cartoon image printed on them were also being sold. Even with Ram's character, he felt a little dizzy. Fortunately, Sioruo said that the ones who buy are all fans who like her, otherwise Ram would want to take out a meteor hammer and smash the stall. At this time, Ram, who had been silent all this time, suddenly pulled Sioruo aside with a serious expression. Sioruo, are you targeting me? Ram's voice was very small, as if she was afraid of being heard by Ram, so she lowered her voice, but her eyes stayed on Sioruo. Why is Ram's the statues are so beautiful, and there are so many beautiful clothes, shining, why do I have so few types of statues, and the number is not large, and why? In fact, Ram and Sioruo have a pretty good relationship. Sioruo looked at Ram's face and raised the corners of her mouth slightly, trying to tease her. Of course it's because Ram is very popular. Who doesn't like a cute girl like Ram, and Ram is gentle, kind and understanding. Sioruo talked about a lot of advantages of Ram, but Ram tilted his head slightly. She doesn't think what Sioruo said is wrong, but she and Ram are twins, so they must be equally cute. Why are there so few people who appreciate her? Sioruo looked at Ram's pensive cute expression, and joked, Dear Ram, in fact, I think you are quite cute too. It must be that those people don't have enough eyesight to notice your cuteness, otherwise, you never Roswell's resignation. Anyway, Roswell's work is tiring and boring, his mansion is ridiculously large, and it takes a day to clean it, and he treats the maid as a slave. After you resign, come directly to me and be my maid, and I won't let you do any dirty work. At that time, I will pack it for you and give you more cute figures, so that you can become a man beyond Ram. Star. Hearing Sioruo's words, Ram gritted his teeth fiercely, stretched out his hand and twisted the soft flesh around Sioruo's waist. Humph, Sioruo, you bastard, Ram will not betray Lord Roswell. Hey, don't screw it up, ah. Ram chased Sioruo around several times, twisting the flesh behind Sioruo while circling. This scene of slapstick attracted many people around to take pictures. Ram watched this scene from behind with a complicated expression. the relationship between sister and Syaruo is still so good. In fact, Syaruo just said that letting Ram resign and leave Roswaal was not just a joke, or it was a joke at the beginning, and Syaruo also seriously thought about this kind of thing later. Ram can't do without Roswaal now, and if Syaruo knows it, because Ram's horn is broken, Roswaal needs to keep replenishing her magic power to survive, and it seems that because of the broken horn, Ram's love for Roswaal, there is a feeling of admiration. In the past, Syaruo was completely helpless against Ram's broken horn, but now Syaruo has the power of fantasy, which can completely restore Ram's broken horn, and even let Ram get rid of Roswaal's control. Of course, now is not the time to talk about it. Syaruo plans to tell Ram about it when they leave. After walking around with Emilia and others for a while, Syaruo realized that it was almost done, and suddenly covered her stomach. "No, my stomach hurts." "What's the matter?" Ram walked to Syaruo's side and asked with a worried tone. "Maybe it's because I drank too much ice water in the morning, and my stomach started to hurt." 486, take them for a stroll first, I'll go to the toilet, you don't mind me, I'll find you later, said Syaruo. He clutched his stomach and ran to the toilet. You go, we'll wait for you for a while, it doesn't matter, Naosubaru shouted at Syaruo's leaving figure. Don't wait for me, I need about an hour, you play first, and we will meet in the maid cafe we just visited in an hour. After saying this, Syaruo had disappeared. Going to the bathroom, will it take an hour? There was a trace of confusion in Naosubaru's eyes, but he was obedient. He did not wait with Emilia and the others, but took them to various exhibition halls. Although they did not understand the two-dimensional culture, after all, it is a place that has never been before, and these people from another world are not bored at all. At this time, at the fighting game exhibition hall of BW, there is a large group of young people who love fighting games gathered here. That Japanese ponytail girl has won 15 consecutive victories, that's too exaggerated. It's too fierce, even the strokes are smoother than Dove, so handsome, it looks like a junior high school student. Even Mojan's fighting up big hand lost. It's too scary. That girl blocks perfectly every time. Who is this person? It's too cute, no, it's too handsome. In the fighting game exhibition hall, there is a classic fighting game showdown ring, where Syaruo arranged for Maple and others. Sally from the Shield Girl world, Mei is completely an internet-addicted girl, and Maple is half an internet-addicted girl. Games are the easiest to attract them. The fighting game they are playing now is made in Japan. This fighting game Wong is very classic, and Sally's world also has such games. Sally is a game genius herself, her reaction speed is completely inhuman, she played like crazy as soon as she sat here, and she won 15 consecutive victories in one breath. Although Sally was able to sweep like this when she was in the game hall in the past, but now she is abroad, sweeping foreigners in a different environment, still gives Sally an inexplicable sense of accomplishment. Soon, Syaruo found Maple and others who were watching the game. I've been waiting for a long time, I'm back. Syaruo, you're finally back, Maple called out to Sally, who was still on the stage after seeing Syaruo's return. When Sally saw Syaruo coming back, she stopped defending the ring and walked down from the competition stage. Seeing Syaruo, she was very happy at first, but the words changed after she spoke. Syaruo, why did it take you almost an hour to go to the toilet? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 370. Back and forth time management is not an easy task for Syaruo. I always feel that the car will overturn if I am not careful. But fortunately, nothing unexpected happened like some hilarious comedy animations. Syaruo took Maple and others to visit the Rising Game exhibition hall. In the Shield Girl world, New World Online is already the best virtual reality game, and the rest of the games are far inferior to this game. Normally, the games exhibited in the MW Pavilion are the best among Maple and others. In the eyes, it is an extremely backward game. But that was a thing of the past. Today's real world has slowly become abnormal when Syaruo brought the virtual equipment in the animation. Virtual technology is booming, and virtual games are slowly emerging, and the most famous one is developed by Rise the game Minecraft. This game is composed of Syaruo's creativity, coupled with the virtual reality technology of the Shield Girl world. It is a nearly perfect game. Originally in the world before Syaruo, My World was a very classic open-world game, and it was also the most suitable game for VR, which made My World suddenly become a national-level game in this world. Mingjin's video about building a house is even more popular. After all, you may not be able to afford a house in reality, but in the game, the field of the game is infinite. My World is your own world, where you can build everything you want. Many students have learned building technology has its own villa and palace in My World. It can also be said that this game carries the dreams of countless people. So here in the Minecraft exhibition hall, there are the most people gathered, and this is also the largest game booth. When Syaruo brought Maple and the others to the My World exhibition hall, many people had already gathered here, and many of them were wearing virtual helmets. In this exhibition hall, there were activities to visit other people's worlds. Not a video, but a direct entry into the event. My World? What kind of game is this? Maple was a little curious, as if she had never heard of this game. I see that the introduction is a sandbox game, or a construction game. I don't like this kind of game very much. I still prefer fighting games, Sally said without interest after looking at the introduction on the booth. Let's go in and take a look first. I really like this type of game. Building a house with squares seems to be very fun. Miyi looked at the poster on the booth, and seemed very interested in this game. Then let's go. Syaruo brought Maple and others into the world created by an architect. For Syaruo, it was also the first time for him to visit other people's world. He may have seen it on the video before, but he personally used the virtual helmet enter. This is the first time. And the name of this world is ancient capital Luoyang. As soon as she entered Luoyang, Syaruo heard a burst of melodious national-style music. Then, an ancient building about 1,000 meters high, like a high mountain, appeared in front of Syaruo. Syaruo took a closer look and found it's just a gate. This is. Just entering this world, everyone was shocked by the majesty of this world. Is this, built by players? It's too exaggerated, Sally's mouth twitched. Syaruo was also a little surprised. This is a ghostly ancient capital Luoyang. It is probably a magical city created by the builder with his own imagination, the magical Luoyang city. The more everyone walked in, the more shocking their emotions became. This world is a city carefully polished by architects. It is not an empty shell at all. The magnificent landscape inside, the palaces are scattered, and the end is almost invisible at a glance. The magnificent decorations are like as bright as stars. Cooperating with the built-in light and shadow special effects, one step at a time is like a heavenly road. This city is not so much a city, it is more suitable to say that it is Tiangong. All kinds of magical buildings make people dizzy, as if there is no such city in the world, and I don't know how many people are in the team. How many days did it take to cause such a miracle? Yes, this city is not an exaggeration to call it a miracle. Maple and others were also surprised. Although the texture and details of the NWO game are much better than this so-called Minecraft, but in this kind of grid game, someone can use the grid to build such a huge city is really shocking. After all, the exquisite scenes in NWO are the art of the game, and this city is built by players brick by brick. This is amazing. Maple couldn't help but exclaimed. After building such a city, can I live here forever? It feels really great. I can build buildings I like. This is completely my home in the game. I'm so envious, there is a great God who can live here. Mayi's eyes were shining brightly. Haha, I feel that I can build a toilet. I really admire it. The builder of the city is a real-life player, Sally couldn't help but praised. After that, Sioruo accompanied them to visit several other worlds. There are too many such worlds, ancient buildings, fantasy worlds, never-falling fortresses, castles in the sky, myths and epics, ice and snow castles, music sanctuaries, all kinds of worlds make people addicted and unable to extricate themselves. Just visiting the other people's world here, Maple and the others felt that it was worthwhile to come this time. My world, this is a game that can create miracles. Sioruo was very busy with the MW exhibition, but nothing happened to his time management plan. For a while, I accompanied King Ian to watch the performance on the main stage, for a while I accompanied Emilia and the others to visit the exhibition hall, and for a while I played games with Maple and the others. In short, the three teams did not encounter any problems. Overall, it went smoothly, and the guests also played happy. The only troublesome thing during this period was that Kikyo also brought a girl over. Sioruo, who has no other skills, has no choice but to take Kikyo to the VIP seat on the main stage, let her watch the performance with the audience, and promise to Kikyo that we can talk about it later in the evening. In short, this MW event can be said to be the most tiring task for Sioruo. Sioruo clearly realized how troublesome it is for these animated characters to come to reality. Anyway, there will be such an animated character in the future. Sioruo had to think carefully about what she said. There is no need to play the comic show for a day. Seeing that they are almost done playing, Sioruo arranged for a driver to send Emilia and the others, Maple and the others back to their place of residence on the grounds that she still had something to do. However, everyone in King Ian stayed because of the program. After taking 2 combinations, Sioruo was obviously much more relaxed. When it was the turn of the King Ian group to perform, although the King Ian girls were all nervous, but after they got on the stage, they performed super normally as always, completely bringing the rhythm of the venue, plus the fan Q /U0026 a session and the autograph photo event completely brought the main stage of MW into a climax. With the shouts of fans at the scene and the barrage in the live broadcast room, a carnival started on the entire main stage. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 371. The light performance is as good as ever. Although their daily practice time is very short, and they have no time to rehearse before the performance, but the light part with the aura of the protagonist can always play the best state in key performances. Usually the chain keeps dropping, but at critical moments, they can always perform exceptionally, and they do this every time. Many of the audience below the main stage came to watch King Ian's performance, and they even bought King Ian's exclusive HTT t-shirts and light sticks at the entrance of the main stage to support King Ian girls. The classic tune of Light and Fluttering Time immediately drew the audience into memories, reminding them of the touching details in the King Ian animation. Classics are classics. At the climax of Light and Fluttering Time, the whole crowd began to sing in a chorus. Countless fans and light tone girls sang Slippery Eggs together, making the atmosphere of the scene even more enthusiastic. Whether it was live or live, the bullet screens were all slippery eggs, which made fans who could understand the melody of light music couldn't help laughing, and the live broadcast room froze again, and the popularity reached its peak. After the performance, there will be Yui Hirasawa's stand-up comedy, and then all the self-introductions. Among them, Yui Hirasawa's natural level and bad Chinese accent made the audience laugh, especially Yui Hirasawa's Ni Hao and Xing Duo right angle are so funny. The host is proficient in Japanese, and arranged a fan question and answer session for everyone in King Ian. The questions in it were all selected by Sioruo, and there were no questions. The Kingian girls also answered all the questions one by one. In the answers to some fan questions, the audience also gradually learned that the real-life Kingian girls are actually no different from those in the animation. The animation does not seem to have any processing, it just makes these girls perfect. Displayed. Afterwards, there were some fan autographs and photo sessions, which didn't take long. After the Kingian performance, some interesting things happened in the background. The venue of the MW main stage this time is very large, about the same size as some medium-sized singing shows on some TV stations, and the backstage is the same, but it is a large-scale event after all, so there are a lot of people in the backstage. Mengjian is not a small website anymore, so there are quite a few guests invited, and most of those invited to the main stage are singers and dancers with a huge number of fans on Mengjian. Most of the performances are music and girls in the dance area. Of course, there are also boys, but most of the male UPS are in the game area, and there are relatively few singing areas. At the backstage of the main stage, a slightly rich man was walking back and forth non-stop. At this moment, a sudden female voice appeared beside his ears. "Hey, Fatty Lin, what are you looking for?" "Sneaky." "So it's you, Cha-Cha, don't be so loud, you scared me." Fatty Lin glanced at the girl who called him, and couldn't help complaining. Fatty Lin and Cha-Cha are both big ups in the singing area. They have a large number of fans, and they usually have a good relationship. They often sing together, so they talk more casually. "Are you trying to do something bad? Why are you sneaking around? Be careful and I will report you." The girl named Cha-Cha looked at Fatty Lin suspiciously. "There are so many people around, what did I do wrong? And I'm not sneaky, am I standing here above board? It's you who are suspicious and wronged a good person." Fatty Lin was very dissatisfied with being suspected by Cha-Cha. "Then what are you doing here? Haven't you finished singing all your songs? Why don't you leave?" Cha-Cha asked curiously. "Go." Fatty Lin snorted disdainfully, "Why should I go? After a while, Kingian Girl's performance will end, and Aki Yamamio will come backstage in a while. Why should I leave? If I'm lucky, maybe I can get Kingian Sound's signature." "Kingian's signature, this?" Hearing what Fatty Lin said, Cha-Cha was also a little moved. Light Tone Girl is not just an animation of Mo Station, but an animation officially broadcast on TV stations. The 5 two-dimensional girls playing musical instruments have already broken the circle, and almost every TV station broadcasts it every once in a while. Qingyan Girl will be broadcast once, and now almost everyone who has children at home has watched Qingyan Girl. Even if they haven't watched it, they have heard of this animation, which is already at the level of national animation. Therefore, the popularity of Aki Yamamio and others in Huiguo is no less than that of first-rate stars. The up-masters who are preparing to perform at the cute station, in terms of fame, can't even see Kingian's back. Not to mention that before the Kingian Girl came to the stage, they all saw the Kingian Girl herself. It is really not an exaggeration at all. It is completely like a girl who came out of the second dimension. She is so cute that even girls like Cha-Cha will not be known. Take a liking to their looks. Now that most of the main up programs have ended, I am still here, just want to wait. After watching the Kingian performance, can I ask for an autograph? Cha-Cha, didn't you just pass N1 for your Japanese? Then get my autograph for me, please. Fatty Lin begged his friend, who really doesn't understand Japanese at all. Okay, Cha-Cha nodded helplessly. In fact, to be honest, she also wanted to sign the autograph, but she didn't know what happened to the Kingian Girl's actual personality. Wow! At this moment, there was a commotion at the entrance of the backstage, accompanied by a burst of chaotic sounds, and soon, Fatty Lin and Cha-Cha found a circle of people around the place where the commotion just came. The two looked at each other and rushed over immediately. Surrounded by the crowd in the backstage is naturally the 5-member group of Kingian girls. They have just finished their performance. At this time, they are a little embarrassed to look at the crowd around them taking pictures. Unexpectedly, in a place like the backstage, their popularity it was so high. Fortunately, Syoruo had prepared staff in advance to maintain order and did not cause too much disturbance. I always feel that this kind of treatment is like a top star. Although all the people here are the upmasters of the cute station, there are quite a few people who like Kingian girls, not to mention that there are some Japanese who are good among them. The moment they saw Kingian girls group, many people went up to ask for autographs and photo. The Kingian girls are also kind girls. When facing the fans, they naturally signed autographs and group photos very seriously, while maintaining a smile on their faces, without the slightest bit of impatience. Both Fatty Lin and Cha-Cha successfully got their autographs and group photos. When he was close to Akiyama Mio and less than 1 meter away from his idol, Fatty Lin, as the ultimate fan of Akiyama Mio, felt so moved that he wanted to cry. Seeing it with his own eyes, and the distance is so close, this is similar to animation and live broadcast. It is a feeling that cannot be expressed in words. A little unrealistic, and a little cool. After getting the signature and group photo of the Kingian girl, almost all the upmasters immediately sent the photos to their fan groups and news feeds. Many of them have hundreds of thousands of fans. Suddenly, countless private messages and news maxed out their phones. The same is true for Fatty Lin, his mobile phone was also overwhelmed by private messages. Holy shit, the photo with Akiyama Mio is awesome. How to sell Nakano Azusa's autograph, let's make a price. I like Azusa so much. Why did the goddess take a photo with the fat man? I also want to take a photo with the goddess. It's so pretty, Mio-chan's photo is so pretty too, she really deserves to be my wife. When will MW open in Shanghai? I also want to take a photo with my wife. Tianbei City is too far away.